Episode 24, Stage Lights and Yesterday's Frights. A young man skips out onto the proscenium, his cheeks inflating and deflating with the rhythmic chew of Sour Patch Kids. He wears an Elmo hoodie and neon blue wheelies. Above his head, an eerie glow emanates from a familiar sign. Ted. Somewhere from up in the rafters, blinding light shoots down right into his baby blue eyes. He can't see a thing. I'm not supposed to be here, he starts. He imagines heads cocking in the abyss of the theater, some stifling laughter. But silence lingers. He scans left, then right, trying to make out a face, but it's all awash. If you were sitting in the audience, it might just look like he was waiting for an answer. Tell me, anyone. Why am I here? Eventually, though, he finds his words. And he starts with this. I guess I should tell you how I got here. Yeah, that's just step one. You see, I was talking to my buddy Joe on the playground. It was a Tuesday. Just a Tuesday. Just normal Tuesday. And it was starting to rain, but we didn't care. I mean, well, I guess if I'm being honest, he didn't care. He even dared me to try the monkey bars. And I hesitated like I always do. I always hesitate. I'm always afraid. What if I fall and hurt myself, I asked. Psh, you won't. You're a whiz. You've done it 1,000,000 times, he said. But it's different now, I pushed back. The bars are wet. I could slip. He scoffed, giving me that signature disappointed smushed frog face, and ran to the monkey bars. If I couldn't do it, he would. And he did, sort of. He swung easily across once, then back again, and one more time across, but he got cocky and shouted at me, his face dripping with rainwater, "Watch me skip 2 bars!" And he did. Briefly. He skipped. Then he skipped. 2, then another 2. But as he rocked his body back and forth to build momentum for that final swing, his hand slipped. He fell, his head smashing into the metal rung of a ladder. The white-faced teen plays with his fingers on the stage, stares back at the lights defiantly, as if to say, "Is that what you wanted?" He lowers his head and stares at the pulsing blue lights of his shoes. That could have been me. Should have been me, he continued. But I was too scared. I'm always afraid of danger, of what could hurt. But Joe, Joe was fearless. After the accident, I screamed bloody murder until someone came. Anyone. I don't even remember who. It was all such a blur. The blood, the ambulance, the hospital. The next clear thing I remember was Joe's mom in the whitewashed hallway outside room 411, leaning against the wall, crying. Joe survived. That's the good news. The not so good news? He was paralyzed. Or at least that's what the doctors thought. I went home that night, guilty as fucking hell, knowing I was the one who did that to him. I took away his ability to walk, to live a normal life. I couldn't sleep. I laid on my back, eyes wide open, staring at the imperfections in the paint on my bedroom ceiling. Jesus fucking Christ. Why did I have to be such a scared little shit? Not long after the accident, we moved to a different town. I lost track of Joe. Made it easy to pretend it never happened. I tucked away the shame. And I pushed away new friends. Why get close to more people I could hurt? A few days ago, Joe popped up in my Facebook feed. He was smiling. God, I remember that goofy smile. Never needed a reason to be, just appeared out of nowhere. Like on one of my favorite Sunday afternoons in October, as we were whiling away the hours, kicking leaves in the forest. I asked him, "What are you smiling about?" He shrugged. "Oh, is it a crime?" Smile just getting bigger. "I'm just happy hanging out," he said. And I nodded. Happy, I guess, but not knowing quite what to say. And before things got awkward, we chased after some choice sticks to use for sword fighting. Turns out Joe recovered completely. I don't exactly know how or where he landed, but it looks like he's married with kids. In fact, there's one picture on his profile that gave me pause. He was layered up in a bright orange jacket and a purple scarf. He always loved obnoxious colors. He was lifting up his kid so he could grab a hold of the monkey bars. I don't know what all of this means, but when I saw that photo, I started crying. In a flash, the memory of that day so long ago, flooded back. The faded yellow of the monkey bars, the deep gray sky, the stodgy smell of rain. Yet it's weird, maybe even inappropriate, but it made me smile. My face still dripping with tears. Here, the young man pauses. He forgets the lights. He looks out into the black, recapturing that smile. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like a 10-year-old, he says. This is what Joe wore just about every day. I've kept his memory buried so long, the shame of that day so repressed. I so wanted to turn that darkness into light, to stop being so afraid, to embrace his memory and celebrate everything that he was to me and for me. The best friend a guy could have. That's the end of my story. No big moral or lesson. Take from it what you will, and maybe it was really just for me and Joe. But I'm okay with that. A pause lingers briefly. The spotlights fade. The house lights rise. And as his eyesight acclimates, he can see out into the audience. He waits for faces to emerge, for faces with tears or smiles mirroring his own. But there's no one. The theater is empty. Before he can make sense of it, he's jolted awake by the blare of his 6:30 a.m. alarm.